bottom of your foot. I also
Stay, so.
was almost over.
Well, yeah, the Friday is when the other one starts. So he wasn't going to go down. And like, all right, well, I guess I'll just run over to my cousin's house and do it over there. And I was 3 shots, was touching the dot at 100 with the old rifle. Here we go.
And by sighting in, you mean just confirming your...
I hadn't shot the gun.
Oh.
Had like the barrel spun on.
Oh, this is a new gun.
Yeah, it's a new gun. This is my custom 300 Win Defiance action, little titanium. Of course, it's titanium, right? Action and a pre-fit proof barrel and MDT carbon folding chassis. It's light. And,
all of these things are Spanish to me, but...
So, like MDT makes a carbon fiber stock or chassis, right? With the butt end folds over to where you can make the gun smaller for carrying it or transporting it. And takes bottom metal mags. And then I have a carbon fiber proof barrel, so it's a heavy looking barrel, but it's carbon fiber.
Yeah.
And they're pre-fit, so it's already made for 300 Win. You just have to spin it on to the action. So you have to have a rifle guy screw your barrel on. And it's in a Defiance Tenacity titanium. I think it's Tenacity titanium. Oh, it's a titanium action. I ordered it like 2 years ago. It took over a year to get. And then I have a Night Force NXS. I think it's a 4x35 scope.
And what's the vision for this gun? Just a big
It's
game?
carrying around elk hunting gun.
Yeah.
You
don't see yourself shooting much else with it?
Nope. It's still in a chassis, so it's it's almost like a target competition grade type of stock, which I prefer anyway. It's got a pick rail down the whole bottom of it, or archer rail down the whole bottom of it, so I can throw it on a tripod if I wanted to. But it's light. Like the first year I hunted with a rifle on my secondary tag was with my 338, and the thing was so freaking heavy I wanted to die. Like I literally hated life and every minute of it. So then it was like before the next year I'm building a lightweight gun, and then I ordered that action. That action never showed up. Ended up carrying around the heavy gun anyway, and it came in just after rifle season. So I had it sitting, spun it on, never used it. I think it was a Timney 1.5 pound trigger. It's very It's very easy to just sit there and just lightly squeeze and shocks you.
And you consult Doug on all these things?
Oh yeah, that was all what Doug told me to get. I got the freaking the stock. So Dougie our buddy Scott was moving out of the country, and he was like offloading all his stuff, which is where I got the scope. I ended up buying like 5 scopes off of Scott when he left. I just got a whole slew of Night Force because he was sponsored by him, and he sold Doug a 6.5 PRC and 2 chassis. And for what he paid for them, because those MDTs are like $2,000 or something like that, it was really cheap. And I was like, well, God, I wish he had one that fit mine. And Dougie's like, well, they're both the same size, but I'll give you one of them for what I paid. I don't need 2 of them. I'm like, all right, sure, here's some money. Steal of a deal. It was the right size freaking action. He thought it was a short action. It was a long action. I was like, this is the freaking one I needed anyway. This is sweet. So I scored on that one. And I want to say I actually got the barrel from Scott. Yeah. He had a 300 Win barrel that he hadn't threaded yet. And I bought that from him too. So the scope, the stock, indirectly, and the barrel all came from Scott when he was leaving.
So what do you have into the build for monies?
I don't know if I want to say, because it's little, like, it was cheap for what it is. The action was, so I'm a dealer for Defiance actually, and I got it before they raised their prices like 20%. So I think I paid like $1,300 or $1,400 for the action. I think that action's well over $2,000 now. I want to say I paid $650 for the chassis, which is dirt cheap, and then the barrel was like $300 or $400 because these are all because Scotty sponsored, if I remember right. I don't remember the exact figure there. And then the scope was, I don't know, I paid really, I think the scope's normally like a little over $2,000. I probably paid like $1,500 or something like that. So 15, 2, 3, I'm $3,500 into it. Yeah. And it's probably a $10,000 gun.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I can't complain, man. I got good on it, but I'm frugal, and when a deal comes up, like I was like buying parts for 2 years for this thing, right? I was actually gonna get a different scope, but I wasn't gonna get one that went to 35 because they make like a 2.5 to 22, but the NXS series is light, like it's the lightest Night Force they make.
Yeah.
And to go to like a 4 to 35 or whatever, I was like, that's fine.
Yeah.
So, but it
4 to
does weigh a little
35
more.
is plenty.
Well, it goes down so low to begin
Yeah.
with, right? So, and then it was all mill, and I like using mills. It's my preference. They're easier, they're quicker. So yeah, I want to say I bought 4 of his Night Force scopes off him when he moved out of the country. He went to Japan, if I remember right.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And they don't like long-range guns over there?
No, this is all stuff he didn't need.
Oh.
It was like just stuff he had stockpiled, and he's like, well, I should get rid of all this stuff before I go, or a decent amount of it.
Yeah.
I actually bought a rifle off him, too. I bought a 6.5 Creedmoor AR-10. Just a little tack driver. I'm trying to remember which one of the scopes was on that. Oh, that has the 2.5 by 24 or whatever NXS on it.
Sweet.
Then I got a nice little AR-1 from him and like one other one. So, but yeah, the scope already had rings and a level and all that crap on it. So I just had to just bolt, tighten, lined up with the rails. I'm like, cool. It was off. I think I was off by that much at 100 when I reset it at 0. And it was like 2/10 low and like quite a bit to the right, but it was already kind of monkeyed with for left and right. I think he was playing in the wind and reset it to a 0, and it was almost dead center.
So now you're sighting in.
Uh-huh.
Are you building your yardage drops off of?
So I have the shooter app.
Okay, so it's off
so
of.
I put all that information in the program, and just get it 0 to 100 was all I was doing, and then
then it
testing.
spits
And
out
I
your
was
mills?
choosing my Garmin chronograph to get velocities while I was shooting. Dougie said you need to put 30 to 40 rounds in a new barrel before the speed stops changing, because the speed will start to change pretty significantly as you're breaking it in.
Yes.
And I got 20 rounds through or so till the property right next to my cousin's house. There are these guys doing revitalizing. It's the tribe, because he lives right next door to the tribe. They're revitalizing the creek that it's like Coeur d'Alene Creek or something happens to go through the property, and they're trying to set up for spawn beds or something like that. So they're doing all kinds of dirt work they got and whatnot. Well, they hadn't been there in forever. And so my cousin's like, yeah, they haven't been there. Don't worry about it. It's like, but if they show up, you can't shoot. I got about round 18 or 19 through, and I look off to the left on the road, and here's a truck with a Mini X parked. I'm like, shit, they're here. So I didn't get my 30 to 40 in. Hopefully they're not there tomorrow, and I can go back and shoot the next 15. But I sighted got my 0 to 100, moved my dope to 200, hit the plate, and then he's got another plate at 500. And I don't know if my eyes are just so bad I can't tell anymore. I couldn't tell where I was hitting on the plate. But within 5 shots, I was out to 500 and just following what the app said and playing. So I started like moving my reticle around to see, okay, where am I missing this block at? Where am I missing this plate at? So I moved it all the way to the left, and I still hit the plate. And I was about to move it up to the upper corner to see if I was hitting low or high, because I can't tell. Like, it's orange, and I kept thinking like, okay, it looks like I'm hitting there, but either I was shooting a group like this on the right hand side of it, which I think I was with the right drop, because there was a little bit of a breeze, and like I said, I moved all the way to the left edge of the plate, and I still hit the plate, but I just couldn't tell. I need somebody to like spot the plate, because I'd come off of it. Like, I'd fire it and it would come off, and I'd have to reacquire it, and I wasn't finding it until the plate was already hit.
Or maybe one of those where you set your phone up on a spotter.
Yeah, and record it.
And
That'd have been great. I don't have one for my. I have that Swarovski double eye thingamajig. That fancy bougie little thing, which is great to look through. But I don't have the clamp on for my.
There might not even be an adapter. I'm not sure. I would think so.
I'm sure they do, because like your high end guides and whatnot, a lot of them are using that, and they'd be the kind of person who would like gobble that stuff up. So, yeah.
I wish I knew more about long range stuff, but I just went down a small rabbit hole.
Yeah.
A few years back, and I just bought a gun, set it up, But the cool thing about the way I set it up was I used an app as well, similar to what you did. The app was good, but my rangefinder also had one of those things where you can put in your velocity and it spits it out for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, which isn't as precise as the app, but I compared the charts out to, I can't remember if I shot out to like 500 or 600, and it was like right there. So I could use the rangefinder to get my number, and then if I really needed to double check it, I would check it with the app, which I thought was cool.
Yeah, so I have a similar thing on my range-finding binoculars, but I didn't set it up yet.
Yeah. Yeah, and it might be right there too. It just makes it a little quicker in the heat of the moment.
Supposedly, Vectronics just came out with range-finding binoculars that are all ballistic syncing, works with your Kestrel, 8 power, 10 power, 12 power. Glass is actually pretty good, but the biggest thing with Vectronics is they have the best rangefinder.
Yeah.
If you're going to shoot distance, like, I want one that goes 3,000 yards, 4,000 yards, 5,000 yards, any of that kind of crap, it'll do it, and it pings faster. So, like, you hold the button down, and so I will probably end up picking up a pair of those, and those will just be my rifle stuff.
And a lot of guys will print off their charts too. And
yeah, I'll have a chart taped on the side of my stock just so I have it.
Which is cool.
If I don't have time,
a
quick little conversion chart will totally do that. But it's Friday, and today's Wednesday, and I got to go packing out because I'm going to call her my niece, even though he's my cousin's daughter, but he's like my brother, so she can be my niece.
Yep.
And she just shot her first bull with a rifle on B-tag, and he called me. I was at his house shooting, because he told me just shoot in the middle of the day, like after 8 p.m. and not later than 3 p.m. So I ran over there before this pod, because I knew we were podding at noon. It's about 20, 25-minute drive. Zip over there, start shooting, get a message from a picture of her with her bull, and I'm looking around, and I'm like, well, his truck's here, her truck's here, because she's 16, and the expedition's gone, so he's up on the mountain right now. So I shot my stuff and messaged him and said, hey, you need help packing out? Didn't get a reply back. Shot my stuff, left, got 5 minutes away, 8 minutes away, and he called me. He's like, hey, yeah, where are you at? I'm like, I just left your house. And so as soon as I get done with this, I'll run back over there and help him with that.
And what's your choice of pack frame?
I have a bull pack, which I've had forever.
Like an old school aluminum?
Oh, no, this is like out of Idaho. There is literally just for packing meat. It is no other application. And it's all aluminum, welded aluminum, solid, one piece, and it's just got a shelf on it and strap it up and go. And you really don't notice the weight, and it doesn't give at all. It's very solid. However, it's not that far of a pack. So, and I think Brandon might be coming too, because it sounded like he wasn't doing anything. And I said, hey, just give me till 1:45. I'll be back. So, and they're still hiking out, and then they have to drive out, which will take them a while. They might not be ready to go by the time I get there.
Yeah.
But if they are, I'm down. I'm ready to go. I got the red pants on today, so if I spill blood on them, it's less noticeable.
Well, congrats to what's her name?
Briley.
Congrats
yeah, she is
Briley.
Also a
first bull.
Yeah, it's her first bull.
First big game animal.
No, she's been shooting deer for several years. This is her first elk. She's killed a mule deer down with Pappy. She's killed whitetails with her dad, and she is which I think we've talked about her on here before. She shoots for Freeman Trap, which is the #1 trap team in the state of Washington.
Yeah, Freeman's probably one of the cooler schools
in
Washington.
She finished 4th or 5th in the state this last year. And I think she finished one place better this year. So she was one of the few 8th graders that they actually let on, if I remember right. Yeah, like she was able to actually compete at the state so in trap, it's age doesn't matter. So like a senior and a freshman are playing against each other.
Yeah.
Right? Doesn't matter. So, and they've won state for like decades, I think. I don't think anybody's challenged them. There's a lot of schools trying, but they're pretty dominant in the trap, and my cousin is one of the coaches. I sponsor Freeman Trap every year for the shop.
Oh, dang.
Get my name on a hoodie, and and I mean it's any shooting sport really. I mean, like it's you have to try to support the kids shooting in shooting sports, and there's not a lot of, like, I couldn't do that when I was in school. It wasn't an option.
No, I didn't. There was no trap teams where I grew up.
Well,
but
fortunately,
also,
they're younger. They're smaller schools, and they still do that stuff.
But also in the town and era that I grew up, most kids had shotguns in their vehicles.
Dude, when I went to school, you could have a rifle in your pickup window.
Yeah.
And they hadn't banned it yet.
Most kids did. Most kids also had their vehicles unlocked.
Yeah, and nobody got shot. Ever.
Well,
there was no school shootings.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. I said, do you know how many
0
gun-related incidents happened on property?
We better be careful. We can't get too political because apparently those videos don't do well.
That's fine.
Our last one didn't do all that well.
It's doing fine.
Oh, it's okay. It just wasn't that great. I do have to.
Not the best, not the worst.
No, it's not. I do have to. I read some of the comments because I was curious if it was going to get like bullied really bad or whatnot. Because I typically don't want to go political. We've kind of made that like just stay out of it.
No, I thought we were doing religion on this pod.
Yeah, let's talk about God, baby. No, the one of them stuck out at me, and I want to talk about it.
Okay,
just briefly. The guy's like, you really need to keep politics out of this. I don't listen to archery podcasts for my politics, and I can't believe January 6th ever happened, and blah, 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 blah. And I was almost like, dude, it says politics in the fucking title.
Crazy, right?
Why did you click on it?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not, and furthermore, I want you to be able to express your opinion. Person who commented that, who got some thumbs ups on it, because clearly there was some people that didn't want us talking about politics, but it said it in the title. Okay? Like, you should have known before you fucking clicked on it that we were going to talk about politics. If you didn't want someone to talk about politics, then don't fucking click it.
Yep.
Like, give me a break, you child. Like, dumb. Just, Yeah, but furthermore, I want you to have a different opinion than me, and I want you to feel free to express it, and go ahead and start your own podcast and express your own opinions. You should be able to. But you shouldn't tell me I shouldn't express mine. That's fucking freedom of speech, bro. I ain't going to get into the whole J6 thing. Some of us know what happened. Some of us want to be force-fed, whatever they want to be force-fed. But I think you should be able to express your opinion just like I should be able to express mine. And if you don't want to listen to it, turn it off. That's fine. But don't tell me not to say it. That's wrong.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy, right? I'll just do one more reaction and then we'll move on. But one of them was like, I made it 33 minutes into the podcast, and then they started talking about politics, and I turned it off. I was like, the title.
The title said politics.
We weren't clickbaiting you into it. In fact, I could have there could have been a lot better clickbaitier titles, but I just wanted to be super clear. Here's what we think. Which is good. I'm actually, I would say, so proud of all of the independent media sources that I see that choose to partake or don't in this political election. A lot of them are, which I think is cool. And it's great to hear politicians do long-form media without an agenda.
I agree. That's phenomenal. And I'm excited to hear that, like, if they're still doing it, like Kamala and Trump are both going on Rogan.
Yeah.
Was what I heard. That's great. You get a real long, unfiltered version to listen to your person.
Yeah.
That you're interested in.
Which actually makes me feel a little brighter about the future of politics.
Well, it's a lot harder to get snowed when that person has to talk for 2 to 3 hours uninterrupted.
Right. Yeah.
And unfiltered and uncensored.
Without a teleprompter telling them exactly what to say.
Yeah. That's phenomenal. That if everyone would have such a better image of who they're voting for in that scenario. Because most of the people that are listening to stuff are getting a 30-second snippet or a 10-second snippet. You don't know what they were saying. You only know what whoever snippeted that wanted you to know. Right? And a long-form discussion is the safest way to do it.
Yeah. Or even a debate where the questions are all curated and then there's teleprompters and shit. Like,
yeah, that's not your response. That's what your people want you to say.
That's a curated version, which is a very unique way to see a person. Like, I want to see that person sit down for lunch and chat with their peers. What are they like in that environment?
100%.
So, yeah, it's pretty cool. And Theo Vaughn, I would say, is kind of like right at the center of it. He's done a podcast with about every politician he can from both sides.
Right.
Which is cool.
Such an interesting person to be the person asking you questions because he's got such a weird mindset and weird thoughts. It's fucking hilarious.
Who would have thought he would have been the guy at the epicenter of all that happenings?
Yeah, the unfiltered Theo.
I really look forward to Rogan's pod with both of them.
God,
if it happens.
I hope it happens. I really do, because I would love people to see it. The only negative from that, from obviously, you know, because we expressed our political beliefs, we're both kind of right leaning, and left leaning people don't, or at least an impression that I'm given from is they think that Rogan's like a right wing nut job. He's not at all. He's not. He's more left leaning than right from 10 years ago. If you take what those things were then, right? But I'm concerned. No, the people that need to hear it aren't going to listen to it. The people that need to hear an unfiltered version of both people for 3 hours or however long it ends up being agreed to go, they won't listen to it because their impression of Rogan is that. And that's really sad that you would take that mindset into that and not actually listen to it. Everyone should listen to it and listen to it with an open mind. Mm-hmm. I mean, I voted liberal at some point during my life. All right. Once. Right. I'm open-minded. I really am. But you need to go into all this stuff with an open mind and take your own impression of what you're hearing and listening and decide there.
Yeah.
And enough of politics.
Yeah.
Yeah. Didn't want to talk that, but
Yeah.
But the comments and whatnot, that a couple that I got were just like, I went back and read it. I was like, dude, it says it in the title.
Yeah.
If you don't want to listen to a political opinion of us, don't watch that episode.
Yeah.
Move on to the next one. And it's that simple. But the comment about it's like, now you're just being petty.
Well, and there's like a certain person who's just waiting around for like their favorite people to do something that they don't like to go, aha,
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah.
I got you. And it's like, if you like that person and you like 95% of what they do or their core beliefs, like leave it at that. They're not going to be your end all be all.
Yeah, someone's political opinion shouldn't be your determining factor in whether or not you want to listen to how they feel about something else. And that should be, and we need to get back to that, by the way. Yeah. We need to not judge people for their political opinions. We need to judge people for their content of what they're creating that you're choosing to consume.
Yeah.
Period.
But we have a shiny new bow staring us right down the ball sack here. And I think it's time we whip it out.
Whoa. Ugh. Well, pa! So I could have sworn
Right
we
in the
talked about
kisser.
this already, but this so far this year, which I haven't seen everything yet. I've only seen, I still haven't seen Hoyt. I still haven't seen Bowtech. Well, not all of Bowtech. I haven't seen all of Matthews, and I haven't seen Prime yet, or I haven't heard anything yet. But this is the bow that I'm actually most intrigued by. This is a Darton, people, believe it or not. And I know one of the two bows that Tim shot last year was a Darton, and had a lot of great things to say about them. But they're still, as far as companies go, on the small side of things in relation to some of the big dogs. But what they did with this bow,
And aren't they out of Michigan?
I don't think so. I could be wrong. I'd have to go back and look. But they're proudly made in Michigan. Big old freaking card right there. So yeah, they're in Michigan. This bow has a timing adjustment and a wheeling adjustment that you can use without a bow press. It's very intriguing. The wheeling adjustment is actually independently adjusting the limb pressure with a screw, because each limb, it flexes and rotates the pressure. So if you can go back in your history books, and you can actually look at these and see that they're different. If you go back into your history books and look at the PSE Mach 12, you will find a bow that had 4 limb bolts, where the limbs were actually independent, so you could adjust each limb independently. And ironically, it adjusted your wheeling, which is really slick, without moving your spacers. You can move the screw from left to right, and there's a threaded hole at the base of each limb for adjusting that on top and bottom. And we have played with it, and it does officially move left to right the lean. It's slick without actually adjusting anything back there. And then they have this little doodad off the yoke, where the yoke and the cable piece are separate, and there's a set screw in it, and it twists, and it's on a thread. It's very similar to an old steel yoke system from a Martin from way back when, like 30 years ago. Easier to use, though, because you just loosen the set screw on the side and twist it with your hand. So you can make a 16th of a turn on your cable, or a full twist on your cable, whatever you want, but you can actually twist and untwist your cables without putting it in a press, which is really, really, really fucking cool. They did also put integration on the back of it for the QAD cutout and the Hamskea core system. So anybody's integrated rest will work on this bow. And they do make a cool little low profile quiver system.
And what's the line down the middle of the rest? Is that for center shot?
That's the idea is that's your center shot line. So you can just look down the arrow, line it up with that, and that's where you start from. They do make this bow in a 31, a 33, and a 35, and they're the $12.50 to $12.99 range, if I remember right. And we can actually ship you these.
It's pretty cool.
There's no restriction on that. Darton's the first bow company that we've dealt with that allows us to ship their entire line anywhere. So you can actually buy one of these on the website. We can throw it together for you and ship it to you. So something to think about. But what do you think of that bow there, Timmy?
Sweet. First impression, looking at it from the side, there's a lot of machining going on here. Like that's a skeleton of a riser. I was actually a little surprised looking at that. That was not expected to me. I'm sure it's still not the lightest bow, but there's been a lot of CNC work or whatever gets that done on here. Let me talk about my experience shooting a Darton really quick. I shot the Consequence as one of my budget builds from last year, and it was really nice. Like, no features that would necessarily blow your brain or blow your dick off, but just a really great shooting bow for a short axle bow with a lot of brace height and very little reflex. And what seemed to be like the perfect combination of being able to hold a bow really well. So I got a lot of arrows through that bow, and I think it's the best I've ever shot a short axle-to-axle bow. So that actually has me excited about the future of Darton. Their grips are really nice right out of the gate. They're very straightforward, no funny business. Right now, I don't think there's any modifications for them, but they're nice. Mm-hmm. The ability to tune at home, I'm always interested in. That was the reason I initially started with the Bowtech Core SS last year, is because I wanted to be able to tune a bow without putting it in a press. And for a person that doesn't want to invest in having a press at home and all the tools necessary, like, what a great way to be able to tune a bow. It looks great. I want to get some arrows through this and get a better opinion. Do you know draw length adjustability right in the cam, right?
Yeah, it's all pivoting adjustment there. I want to say
like
the quarter-inch increment, and the specs are on there.
Quarter-inch?
I thought it was quarter-inch.
That'd be rad.
I'm pretty sure.
26 to 31 and a half. So that stretches pretty far for the long draw guys, and it probably doesn't feel too bad for the 30-inch guys.
Yeah, my only complaint, and I told Corey this when he brought those by, I was like, if it just wasn't heavy. Like, it's on the heavy side.
Yeah.
Which heavy's accurate, folks, don't get me wrong. Like, if you're carrying it to a tree stand or a ground blind and that's all you're doing with it, there's nothing wrong with a heavy bow. Mm-hmm. It's if you're trying to pack it a long ways on the daily, it may wear you down a little bit, but that's it. Just wait. That's the only gripe I got.
So each of these, this component is on the top and the bottom for timing, right?
Correct.
So you can twist it in or twist it out?
Correct.
Top and bottom?
Yes, sir.
That's pretty neat, man.
Yeah. I mean, it's a freaking sweet idea, and I'm just kind of shocked it took that long for somebody to do that, especially when that tech actually did exist. Like once you go to this split yoke system, and they haven't said yet whether they're going to do this or not. They may be open to licensing it, or they may just sell the part. So if you ordered your own custom strings and cables, you can integrate that into a Matthews. You can integrate that into a Target Bow Hoyt, because they have that system. PSE has that system where it yokes around either side of the cam and then into the cable as two separate pieces. So it might be really interesting to see where that gets incorporated too.
And does this have the ability to go performance and smooth mod too?
They are different modules.
Okay.
But they do have one. And it comes with the performance mod on it, if I remember right.
Now, I like that they went 35, 33, 31. My concern is that because they went 35, 33, 31, maybe they'll get out over their skis with manufacturing, because it seems a little complex to me to have 3 different SKUs in the same bow. And when we see most major manufacturers go with 2 lengths, it worries me a little bit that's going to catch up to bite Darton on the manufacturing side of things. But I guess only time will tell.
Well, and they are on the upscale of entry, right? Basically, so yeah, I'm concerned about their capacity.
Yeah,
to be able to do it. I'm not sure they're going to do okay. in that regard. But hey, time will tell. They may
Power
be able to keep
them.
up.
Yeah.
They may not.
It seems to be a trend from what we've seen so far, and I like it that we're seeing more availability in the longer axle to axle bows. There's a 35 from Elite.
Yep.
There's a 35 from Darton. Who else is out?
PSE's got a 33, and then you can get that 33 Mach in a 35 if you really want.
Yeah.
A longer one. It's just a longer limb. Like I said, but the main ones haven't come out. I mean, PSE's probably number 4 overall.
Yeah, the main ones are right around the corner.
Main ones are coming. Then they're
pretty exciting.
See, I talked to Bowtech's saying like November 20th or 19th or something like that. Matthews is saying that date. Prime's saying like December 1st, and then Hoyt's like the 12th of November. I want to say
it's all shaking pretty.
So
quick
there's a
here.
whole bunch dropping at the end, mid to end of November. It looks like.
Yeah.
And I'm running out of bows to review. I know who is it? The ones that make that X-Lite. It's
Expedition.
Expedition. They came out with a new X-Lite 32. And I did. I got an email from a rep or something, and I just wrote him back. It's like, hey, do you want me to review this bow? Haven't heard back yet. So it's like, because at this point, if I don't carry your product and you want to have your bow reviewed, you just send me one.
Yeah.
I'll do it. I don't care. With the exception of the Celinda or whatever the Chinese one is.
Yeah.
They messaged me over Instagram offering to send me any bow you want to test. Of course they did. And I don't know morally, right? They sent James one, and he talked to me about it, and I'm like, well, morally, do you want to do that?
Yeah.
Like, because you know what this is all Chinese knocked off product from intellectual properties that the U.S. has that they just don't care. They're like, yeah, we'll just knock your stuff off. Yeah. I saw a great little meme. I think it was on Hooligan. It was Celinda waiting for all the new 2025 bows to drop so they can copy them.
Yeah.
Because that's what they do. They literally take everything that you make and just make an exact copy of it and mark it down and sell it on Amazon.
Yeah, I wouldn't dabble with it.
Yeah, I've been leaning towards no. My only thing was like, do I get one and then just rip it apart? And be like, this is blatantly terrible. This isn't, because my concern, and I've had to tune those bows before, like customers will bring them in. A lot of times their knock travel is just jacked. Like they're really hard to tune, which means it's going to be really hard to maintain its tune.
Yeah.
And maintain its ability to perform. And, people are trying to save money, and I totally get that. No different than, I think the number one lighted knock I asked to be reviewed when I said I was going to test lighted knocks was the imported ones, the cheap ones on Amazon. Like, how do they hold up? Because at the end of the day, people want to buy it, but they don't know if it's junk. So they basically want somebody reliable to say, hey, they're not junk, or they are junk. Well, that's all they want.
Let's say you got $500 to spend, and that's what you got, and you're like, hey, I want to go get a bow set up. You could potentially go to Amazon and get like a, some kind of knockoff product. Well, and hold on. And that might work. Or you could buy a bow that's a couple years used, removed. And then you get a piece of tech that was made in the USA without skimping on any components. And, if it was made in the last 5 years, it's probably going to hold together really well.
Yeah, the only caveat I would throw in there is when you're talking about the Celindas or whatever it is. I don't even know how to pronounce it, but most of them are $800 to $1,100, right? They do make a chintzy one that's under that $500, but it's not. I mean, it probably performs similar or worse to anybody's under $500 bow that's American made that you can already buy.
Yeah.
So that bow doesn't make sense. So it's more like that. It's like the guy who wants to buy a high end bow but doesn't want to spend high end money. That seems like what they're trying to appeal to. They're that $700, $800, $900,000 range, which I personally think is why. And I just heard this one again from another brand. I'm not going to say which, but seems like multiple brands are trying to put out an $800 to $1,200 bow that's doesn't have all the features of their flagships, but similar. Like Elite's Hunter 33 is $999. And it doesn't have the new cam system on it. It's got a slightly older cam system. It doesn't have a front mount pick, but it's got a rear mount. It's like we're trying to just take a step back in a year or two, which I guess if you're trying to compete with like that Cylinder or whatnot, they're usually a 6 month to a year behind whatever was being manufactured because they're knocking it off, right? You can't get it out right away.
Yeah.
And maybe that's something that bow manufacturers are doing to combat that. Because there's another bow brand, I can't say which at the moment, is releasing a slightly less expensive, close to flagship price point. And what is it? Prime did that Ronin last year at $799, and Darton's Conquest. They're trying to make high end quality stuff at a mid range price, and try to not ignore that price point. And I'm willing to bet that imported crap on Amazon is why they're doing it. Like, well, if we offer something in this price range, say, hey, this competes. And I guarantee it does, because at the end of the day, their engineers typically aren't like paying attention to knock travel or anything like that. So unless they can 100% make a perfect clone of the cam, which they typically don't, they always look a little different. And whenever I've tried to tune the cheaper ones, it's a knock travel issue. Like, they're uneven. Like, you start where you get it to tune at, the knock point isn't anywhere where it should be. It just doesn't. Yeah. It's just quality.
Well, back to this Darton. I like the camo, and I'm usually not. I mean, since you've known me, have I owned a camo bow?
No, but that's the kind of camo I'd expect you to own. With
the exception of the one I painted and camouflaged myself.
And it looks very similar.
So, yeah, I like this camo.
I'm trying to remember what that's called. It has a name, an actual branded name.
Maybe it's on the tag. No, it won't be on the
tag. But that's the Folds of Honor edition. And the Folds of Honor is a percentage of the proceeds of those bows is going to be donated to Folds of Honor. And they have the Folds of Honor limbs on them. So, and I think it's on the 35 only. I could be wrong, but yeah, it freaking has a name. Like, Justin got all kinds of excited because Justin's like you, he's quirky.
Yeah,
and he got that little flair. And God, he's like, about time somebody made a bow with that camel pattern on it. I cannot remember what it's called for the life of me.
Wait, do you mean Justin has style?
You're both weird.
Anyway,
just throw that out there.
Oh gosh, what was I just going to say about this bow?
Unique.
Oh, you've got reps in hand with it.
Yeah.
And you got the full review. People can check that out on your personal YouTube channel.
Yeah, and as soon as I get a 33 and a 31 and 70 pounds, I'll review those two. I just haven't got one yet.
So what's it feel like?
Honestly, it feels great.
The draw cycle and all that jazz.
The hard part, honestly, Tim, to be able to give a fair assessment of that is most of the bows that I would be competing it against weigh less.
Yes.
So when they weigh less, they're probably going to vibrate a little more. Right? So it felt really good. It's heavy. It's like 4.8 or something.
That's basically the heaviest side of the scale, right?
Bear was over 5.
Oh, was it?
And it wasn't that long. And the elites were all coming in at that 4.7, 4.8, 4.9 realm, all the ones that I tested. So it's not abnormal for this year so far. I would fully expect the Hoyts and the Matthews of similar size to weigh significantly less, and we'll see what Prime does. And those are your main flagships that you're looking at, right? But that is the highest ranked bow so far of my new system.
On the new
and it's been 4 or 5 points above the next closest one that I've tested. But I want to say tunability. I think I gave it a 14 out of 15, which is the highest tunability rank I've given so far. But I haven't tested a Bowtech.
Didn't the shop guys say they were able to move a tear about 1.5 inches with the system?
Yeah, you can move it 1.5 inches.
That's pretty good.
Without changing the spacers. But you can also change the spacers. So if you run into a situation, which I was part of why I gave them a 14 instead of like a 12 or a 13, is because you still have spacers.
Right.
So if you run into a problem and you've got to take the axle out, you can. And it is 1/4 inch axle with screws on it too. Like machine screw, put it all together. I mean, some of the stuff they're doing in that realm is just freaking fantastic.
Like not the kind of screws you're going to strip out?
Yeah, like a legit beefy ones, not stupid little screw heads like some manufacturers do. Sorry, Matthews, I got to do it. It was just put some bigger screws in there, please.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Well, speaking of Matthews, I think you got a sneak peek, so we probably can't talk anymore. But
mild sneak peek.
Yeah,
I've already been informed.
I'm excited for Matthews and Hoyt. This bow launch, I think, is, and largely because of this, really is got me stoked. Like, I think we're seeing more innovation than I expected to see. I thought we'd see subtleties in tuning, not like a whole bang.
Most of what I've seen so far isn't drastically different. Other than that, that one's a big one, a big jump, I would say. And it has me optimistic and hopeful that this is always something that I expected bow manufacturers to really start paying attention to. and that's part of why I've tried to gripe about it, hoping that, hey, make these things to where the average guy can mess with it so he understands how his bow works.
Yeah.
Because the more you understand how your bow works, the better you're going to be with your bow and the more confidence you're going to have with it.
Yeah. Let me circle back to this being able to be sold on the website.
Yeah.
I want to give a glimpse into the future of what archery might look like, because I've seen golf undergo what I feel like will be parallel with archery.
Mm-hmm.
There was a time when most people bought their golf clubs in a golf shop, and then you could sell all your golf clubs online. A lot of people started buying clubs online,
Yeah.
and that scared a lot of golf shops, as it should. As it should. They felt like they couldn't compete with an online marketplace, and there's room for both.
I got a fun story along that, but go ahead.
Yeah, there's room for both. Yeah. Now, that being said, if you are an archery shop and you're concerned that these things are being sold online, what you can do as an archery shop is you could consider selling online, but that's a large leap to make. But you should position yourself as an experience with expertise, because a person will never get that online.
Yep.
If they walk into your archery shop, you're happy to see them, you're happy to build their bow, your prices are competitive, equal to, or similar. They don't even have to be the same. A lot of your customers are going to keep coming back to see you, because you're local. So if it scares you, rightfully so. But as an archery shop, you can position yourself to retain your customer base.
Well, it was kind of already tried, and this is the story I got. It was tried like 5 to 10 years ago. I don't remember the exact timeline on it, by Elite, and how they tried it. And honestly, personally, and this was before I was selling online, so I want to say this is a long while back.
Yeah.
I was just like any other shop. I was terrified of it. It was like, and I was going to refuse to sell anything that anybody went that way. I was like, screw you. I want nothing to do with you. You suck as a company, blah, blah, blah. I hate KUIU. I said it for years. Same thing. It's like the direct-to-consumer products. It's like, I don't want to even look at you. You suck. Even if you're going to try to share it, right? So Elite came up with this interesting little program where you could build the bow on their website, buy it all, and then the nearest registered dealer with them is where they shipped the bow. And Elite gave you 10%. You didn't stock it. You didn't do anything. They created the sale. They built the bow. They collected the money. And then they just gave you 10% of it for being the dealer in the area. So it was like, well, you're still giving the shop a percentage, and you're giving them the opportunity to sell that customer all their parts. Because they're showing up there with a bow. It's like, hey, you want to get this put together? We got this, we got this, we got this. And it was an opportunity to sell. So I personally didn't remove them from my shop. I kept them in, but I didn't stock shit. I said, but I'll maintain my dealership with you. Whatever I got to do to maintain my dealership, I'll maintain it, because I want a percentage of that if it exists. And I actually think they sold probably 10 bows in my area, 15 bows in my area. 90% of shops dropped them immediately. As soon as they did it, went, nope, we don't carry Elite anymore. Piss off. And that's how concerned and fearful that community is. Now, I think that's better than it was, but it's still like a large stigma that way. So when it happens, I think it's probably going to be a little harder to get in the door, although I think Darton's done a relatively good job of getting in the door. But they also have put themselves at the table, in my opinion, for the discussion. Which the discussion, or what I mean by that, is when a guy walks into a shop that's got lots of different brands, is it a brand he says he wants to try? Like, I want to try Hoyt, I want to try.
Get your grubby little mitts off your iPhone and listen up. If you want to support the pod, and we need the help, by the way, leave a review, share it with a friend, subscribe wherever you're listening. Josh has an archery dealership. We talked about the Darton. All the archery stuff is online at podiumarcher.com. I have a discount code. It's TimC. It helps support what we do. And these little deals, we have a deal with Jocko, like their energy drinks, like their supplements. It's discount code Josh and Tim. If you ever need any of that stuff, it's always right down below in the description. And let's get you right back to the pod.
Matthews, I want to try Bowtech, I want to try PSE, whatever, whatever your demographics are in your area, because they're all different. I think Darton has managed to put themselves in a position to say, hey, I want to try that Darton.
Yeah.
And if it's successful and it continues to go that direction and they continue to grow, other bow manufacturers are going to pay attention to that.
Yeah.
So I've been saying for a while, I think it's going to happen in like 5 years-ish, give or take, that you're going to start to be able to sell hunting bows online, which are the only ones we can't sell personally. And shops are going to be terrified, but you can either, fight it like people did in the past, or you can kind of embrace it and position yourself to either be a better option. I'm willing to bet when they do that, there's going to be like 2 different prices, and the online price is going to be more expensive than the in-store price. So you're going to be positioned to be less expensive than them and have an opportunity to show people a better experience than this, hey, I just got it mailed to me and everything looks great and I'm happy with it, that kind of thing. So, but either way, it's coming.
Yeah.
I really fully believe that. And everyone that's listening that's a shop should take note of that, which I mean, every one of my videos, I'm telling people to go to the pro shop. Go to the pro shop. Don't buy it from me. Go to the pro shop, right? Because they need to survive too. And I've gotten a lot of things in my comments of thank you for saying that are shops and whatnot. I was like, okay, but listen to what I'm saying, pay attention to what I'm doing, and adapt. It's one thing for me to scream up and down that you need to go to your pro shop. It's another thing for you to do a shit job when they show up.
Right.
Like, you better do a better job.
Yeah.
And listen to what's going on, pay attention to what's going on, and be aware of it. Because I'm doing everything I can to give you that opportunity to still get that customer. Yeah. And as a businessman that can sell straight to that person, even in the Darton video, I'm like, hey, you need to go shoot this at your shop. I can sell that bow right to them. I'm still telling them to go to you. So please, for the love of God, do a good job. Regain those clients, regain that customer base. Yeah. Get them so you survive. Because some of these guys are going to fail and die. It is star. It's a hard business as it is, and it's very labor intensive. It's very time consuming. Do a good job with the opportunity that you're given. Yeah. Shops that are listening. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, competition can be scary. There's 2 examples of stories that I think are great in that essence. Is one, it's the Coke and Pepsi machine story. Almost every spot there's a Coke machine, there's a Pepsi machine next to it. And that's because they did like, somebody did some research and it was proven that when they're both there, there's more total sales for both of them. Yep. Yep. And the other example is, how often do you see a grocery store across from a grocery store?
All the time.
Now, it would be frustrating to own a business and watch that same business going across the street, but it tends to uplift the whole, especially if you're doing a good job.
Yeah, well, it gives people options like, well, what if I want's not that store? I only have to go across the street to get it.
Yeah. And it becomes more of a hub. Like, it brings more people to that area.
Yeah, you get more traffic.
There's that, Yeah.
Well, not everybody has the same stuff.
There's a Home Depot across from Lowe's right in the valley.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those are pretty big businesses. They both survive.
That's right.
So there's room for everybody. I think what you do is you do the best at what you can do, and and just be aware of what's going on in your surroundings.
Yep.
Everything be all right.
That's right.
Everything be all right. How are we doing on time?
We can go a little longer, but not much.
Yeah, because you're gonna go pack an elk.
I gotta go pack an elk. I gotta go get my pack on, and I would prefer to be doing it during daylight and not at night because it sounds like 2 trips. So, but if we're going at night, we're going at night. No big deal.
We didn't talk about the size of this elk at all.
Oh, it's a spike with character.
That's sweet.
Yeah, like one big old drop down one side and another horn sticking up.
Yeah,
I got a picture of it.
I love that for a first animal. It's almost...
My first bull elk was a spike with character.
Yeah. Yeah. Mine was a ratty satellite. But if you start at the pinnacle, like if you somehow get shithouse lucky and you shoot a 350 bull,
you're done.
Yeah, I mean,
everything else is going to be a disappointment.
And how can you appreciate what that's worth?
Right.
You just don't. You haven't garnered the perspective.
Yeah.
I've seen it happen to a few young people, and none of them really seem to have the love for hunting.
That's right.
On the backside of that, because they're like,
so it was given to them.
I went out and did it
by the grace of God.
Yeah. One of my clients, his kid, he's like, my client is the expert in this area, and his kid drew the rifle tag, and he shot almost a 400-inch bull. It's like, where do you go from there?
You're done.
Yeah. Yeah. And I talked to that kid now about hunting, and he's just like, yeah.
Yeah, it's easy. I don't know what you guys are complaining about.
Yeah, I'll go when I can. He doesn't have the fire in his belly, that's for sure.
Sure. Yeah, just getting in the door, but not being like uber successful.
Yeah.
Or having it take you a couple of years of trying.
Yeah.
Those are always good experiences. Get you into where then be successful and feel that overjoy and know there's a place to go.
And experience some taste of success, because if you're out there beating your brains against the wall for a while with nothing, man, it can turn you away too.
For sure. Absolutely.
So what are your standards going to look like this weekend?
Legal.
Yeah.
Male.
So if you see a spike with character,
I'll blast it in a heartbeat. I'm way more of a meat hunter than anything. I always have been, because I eat it. And I'm getting very low on my red meat burger supply. It's getting down there. Mm-hmm. So it's definitely, I see a spike, I shoot it. I see a 5-point, I shoot it. I see a freaking rag, I shoot it. I see a freaking 6x6 350, I shoot it. I don't care. Mm-hmm. They're all getting shot. Any which one, doesn't matter. Because I picked up a gun too. Like, I don't care. I am here to eat.
Well, then once your freezer's full, that's another conversation, right?
Yeah, if I got like a ton of meat in my freezer, it's like, well, I could be picky.
Yeah.
Something like that. But now if I could, I'd probably still have a hard time passing a legal bull. Like if, let's say I have a Washington tag and an Idaho tag. Let's say I kill a bull this weekend and put meat in my freezer, and a legal bull walks in front of me in late season in Washington, I'm still shooting it. But that's archery too, So you don't get the opportunity to shoot a legal elk in Washington that often. Like it's a hard deal. Like it took me 4 years at my property to kill an elk.
Yeah. Now you're not so far from headed to Texas, right?
Yeah, I go in a week and a half.
Can you give a little Texas preview?
I'm going to a college with Daryl from VPA and a professor there that's studying like medieval objects and doing penetration tests.
Really?
Yeah, trying to
cool.
ascertain what is a fair medium to test into.
Oh, nice.
And we're, amongst other things, we're going to have a lot of broadhead discussions, a lot of projectile discussions, and probably do some videos on it and whatnot. And then I have a deer hunt in Texas from there at a ranch with my buddy George Cook from Stone Glacier. And, gave me a call. He's like, hey, I got an opening in this. It's this much money. You want to go? I'm like, yeah, sure. Why not? I'm actually doing that. I hadn't done that before. And then I'm going to go visit our buddy Brandon McDonald in Nashville, since I was already halfway there. Mm-hmm. Figured I'd jump over there and then come back up here and make some content with Brandon.
Nice.
Yeah, it should be a good time. But it's 12 days. I think it's the longest I've been gone from my home in a long freaking time. It's going to be a bit stressful, and I'm sure there'll be a lot going on. But I'm to the point that most everything runs okay without me present, and
that's a good sign.
It is a slow time of year for us business wise. Mm-hmm. So if I'm going to be gone for more than a week, that's a really good time to do it. So should be exciting. We'll see how it goes.
Are you going to have standards in Texas?
I want to say it's a cull hunt.
Okay.
So yeah, I'll be given a list of what I can shoot and what I can't. Which I was honestly, it was just to go experience it.
Yeah.
I'm like, once again, it's meat. I don't really care. Not that big a deal. And looks like there's a good chance I'm going back with Dan later somewhere else. And then I have that mule deer hunt in Mexico with Ray in December.
What's the logistics on getting your meat back?
I don't know. I will find out when I get there.
I know you could typically do the cooler thing and then check your bag.
Yeah, I can't do that though because I'm not flying home from there.
Right.
I got to go to Nashville. I may see what George is doing or where he's going. I'm seeing him Thursday.
It might be a local butcher, then a local butcher ships to you kind of setup.
Yeah, something like that probably is very likely.
Yeah.
I would think. But I'm sure there's means and a function because George is in the old PNW and he's down there. I got to have some plan for
I'm always
himself.
interested a little more on that logistics side of things because I think more about going and doing some of these bigger hunts like in Alaska or wherever.
It's ironic that you mentioned that because I was just over at Dan's this morning working on our camp and his elk from Utah was being delivered. Mm-hmm. So he paid whatever the recommendation was from the ranch he was at to get processed and to have it shipped. Dude, it was $1,000 to have it shipped up here. And the guy shows up in a refrigerator truck. It was nice. And he had multiple stops he was making. It's another stop in Post Falls from somebody who shot something there, right? But it was a freaking $1,000.
Yeah.
And that wasn't processing the meat. That was just transporting it.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah. Dan's like, I'll never do that again. That was insane. Like because he'd been down in Utah the year before, and I think he spent like $600 to process it and get it back.
Mm-hmm.
He spent $800 to have it processed and $1,000 to have it transported. It's like, oh my God, I'm broke.
Yeah.
So, check around before you just blindly go, yeah, sure, whatever. Because that's ridiculous.
If you're successful, what does that look like getting it back?
Not everybody's got Joe Rogan money.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's more intriguing to me. I mean, one cool thing about Alaska is Alaska Airlines and just the culture in Alaska.
Mm-hmm.
They're used to people flying around with guns and wild game. So it doesn't feel weird.
Yeah.
When you go to the airport with a thing of box of fish or something.
Well, I went to, when I did that Minnesota one, I went to Walmart, bought a cooler, and just froze it all and threw it in the cooler and took it home. It was fine.
Yeah.
Never had a problem. But I had a relatively quick flight back, and it wasn't like it sat for a long time. And it was November or whatever. It's cold.
Yeah.
Most places you go, it's cold. So you're not trying to keep something frozen in 100-degree weather.
Yeah, well, I guess you could do that if you could bring it to Brandon's, and then Brandon had a cooler for you to stuff it in.
It just sounds like a nightmare.
Then you're shipping it twice. But yeah, it does sound like a nightmare. It doesn't sound very fun at all.
Assuming I'm successful, there will be some shipping service or something that I end up using, unless Gio's heading straight back, and then maybe I can get him to do it and figure it out from there and coordinate with him. So, but he's here Thursday, so I'll talk to him about it. We'll figure it out.
Logistics, fun stuff.
Boom.
Fires out.
Out skis.
Josh is going to Packanoke.
Woo-hoo.
So we'll see how your hamstrings are feeling next time we get a report.
Probably like ass, but I got to warm up because I'm hunting for the next 5 days.
Yeah, you might be packing your own elk.
Let's hope so.
Yeah, let's hope
God
so.
willing.
All right, y'all. We'll catch you back for the next one.
Get after it.
Go get it.